What would you do if someone vanished right before your eyes? The plan was to have a relaxing and enjoyable weekend. A group of friends had set up camp in a secluded forest, far from any towns or cities. The first night was great, with lots of laughter and stories shared around the campfire. However, things took a turn on the second night. One of the campers, Tom, went to collect firewood. He was gone for quite some time, but nobody was concerned at first, until they heard him scream. The group hurried to look for him, but Tom was nowhere to be found. They searched the area thoroughly, but it seemed like he had disappeared without a trace. Tom's friends called the police, and a large-scale search began. Drones, dogs, and volunteers combed through the forest, but Tom was never located. The most disturbing detail: his footprints suddenly ended in the middle of a clearing, with no evidence of a fight or any other disturbance. It was as if an unseen force had taken him right off the ground. The days became weeks, and eventually, the search was stopped. The friends were very upset, troubled by the questions they couldn't answer and the strange quietness that now surrounded the forest. Some thought it might have been an animal attack, but there were no signs of a fight or any blood, so that idea was dismissed. Others talked quietly about mysterious forces, old stories of the forest that mentioned spirits and creatures that could take people. Tom's disappearance deeply affected the group, and they never went camping again. The forest, which used to be a place for fun and friendship, became a place of fear and sadness. This story reminds us that even the most beautiful places can hide the most frightening secrets. One quiet weekend, a young couple, Emily and Jake, headed out in the mountains on an all-night camping retreat. They had pitched their tent beside a placid lake, the perfect setting for peace and quiet. The second night, they sat by their campfire and saw another fire in the distance. They were too curious, and perhaps a bit alarmed that it might have been someone else in trouble. So off they went to investigate. However, as they got closer, something seemed odd about the fire. It looked to be burning only inches above the ground, and there was no apparent wood or fuel. Even weirder, they could not feel any more heat from it. They sat around the fire, looking at what they had found. It danced as a normal flame should, but its shape did not cast shadows and it said nothing. And they felt the hair on their necks stand still as it dawned upon them that this was nothing short of supernatural. Obviously panicked, they returned back to their own fire, only for it too had been mysteriously put out. After that, they stayed in their tent for the rest of the night as weird noises pierced through. Morning came and the phantom fire was gone. They packed up their gear in silence as day broke around them, vowing to never set foot back on that unearthly site again. When they got back home, they looked up the area and found local legends mentioning ghost fires that would to travelers appear then eventually perish. A few claimed that it was the ghosts of missing hikers, searching for their way back. Others offered this spooky phenomenon a more mundane explanation. Science had simply not explained how clock resets itself. When they were finished, Emily and Jake shared a lingering unease passed along the generations by those tales told in hushed whispers around well-worn campfires, as if the living forest itself had spoken to them. The Phantom Campfire showed them that there are things in the world that humans cannot understand, but such was a truth they already knew living on an interconnected planet. What if the cries you hear in the night are more than just your imagination? During a family camping trip in a dense forest, the Johnsons experienced something they would never forget. On their second night, they heard the sound of a woman crying in the distance. Thinking someone might be in trouble, Mr. Johnson and his teenage son decided to investigate. As they walked deeper into the woods, the cries grew louder, but they couldn't find the source. After an hour of searching, they decided to head back to their campsite. To their horror, they realized they had been walking in circles, unable to find their way back. The cries continued, now sounding closer and more desperate. Finally, they stumbled upon their campsite, where Mrs. Johnson and their younger children were waiting, frightened and worried. They quickly packed up and left, and the cries stopped as soon as they exited the forest. The Johnsons later learned that the area was notorious for mysterious disappearances and ghostly encounters, particularly the legend of a woman who had lost her way and perished in the woods. The legend spoke of a young woman who had wandered into the forest years ago, lost and heartbroken. She had never been found, and her spirit was said to haunt the woods, crying for help and leading travelers astray. The Johnsons couldn't shake the feeling that they had encountered her ghost, and the experience left a lasting impression on them. They vowed to be more cautious on future camping trips, always staying aware of their surroundings and respecting the stories and legends of the places they visited. Their encounter with the crying woman was a stark reminder that the past often lingers in unexpected ways, and that the wilderness is filled with echoes of those who came before us. Mark and his friends were seasoned campers, well-versed in survival skills and outdoor adventures. They chose a secluded spot in a national park for their latest expedition. Everything was going smoothly until the third night. As they sat around the campfire, they felt an eerie sensation, as if someone or something was watching them. They joked about it, trying to shake off the feeling, but it persisted. That night, Mark woke up to the sound of heavy breathing right outside his tent. He unzipped the tent cautiously and looked around, but saw nothing. The next day, the group decided to explore a nearby cave. Inside, they found strange symbols etched into the walls, and a feeling of being watched grew stronger. They left the cave in a hurry, and that night, the unseen presence returned, this time accompanied by whispers and the sound of footsteps around their campsite. Unable to endure the fear any longer, they left the campsite at dawn. To this day, none of them can explain what they felt, but they all agree that it was something beyond the natural world. The experience left them with a deep respect for the unknown and a sense of humility in the face of nature's mysteries. The group's bond grew stronger after the incident, as they shared a secret that no one else could truly understand. They continued to camp together, but they always remembered to listen to their instincts and respect the places they visited. Their encounter with the unseen presence taught them that sometimes, the most important lessons are learned in the face of fear and uncertainty. If you enjoyed these spine-chilling tales, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Thank you for watching, and stay safe out there.